Please welcome Wet Leg.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up?
Hi.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you? How are you?
Good.
I'm great. Everyone, I got asked to do this a few weeks ago, and to be honest, I've definitely, obviously, have heard of all of the work that you guys have done, and but this was kind of my first time really deep diving, and I have to say that the experience of researching and just kind of getting to know you guys as a band and all the things that you guys have done was actually really inspiring. So thanks for having me, and I'm really excited to get into it. I have my notebook here.
So cute. No, thank you so much for doing this. Honestly, I'm such a fan.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm so honored. Okay, so I was gonna start with there's gonna be a lot of I read somewhere tonight because I'm a very chaotic researcher. So that will be the start of a lot of these questions. But I read somewhere that I read about the story of how you were working as a stylist in London, correct? And you had went over to Hester and Josh's place for what initially started as 2 nights, and you ended up being there. I think you said baking cookies and dancing for 6 weeks. And that kind of eventually became the first cluster of Wet Leg songs. I love this story so much. It just made me, as someone who makes music, it just made me feel very connected to this place of like purity when it comes to making music. And I guess my first question is, at this point, because that was what, 2021, 2022 maybe?
I think 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with 21.
At this point, because it's been such a crazy, whirlwind for you guys, does it feel like it's been a long time since you guys became a band? All of you?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of funny thinking about our lives before, like, the band started kind of like kicking off. Like, it feels like an alternate reality because we all could have like just very happily kept on living those realities, and it is very like just a real, like, it's fluke that we're doing what we're doing now. Like, Joshy was working at a cafe, Hester was working for the family business, Ellis was scaffolding, Henry was a delivery driver and a surf teacher. So
A
it's
what
just, like,
teacher?
surfing.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of cafe was it?
It was a vegan cafe
It was the
Hey.
first vegan cafe
On
to
the Isle of
open on
Wight.
the Isle of Wight, which is like a big thing.
That is kind of iconic, honestly.
Yeah, and everybody that worked there was musicians, so everyone was like covering each other because they needed a gig or, well, had to play a gig or whatever. Everyone kind of got each other. It was really cool. It was really rad.
That's so dope. So you guys are from Isle of Wight, which is an island. It's pretty remote. I was reading about it a bit, but can you tell me a bit about, and for anyone who also who hasn't, known of the island before this conversation, but how was growing up on that island, and like what were the smells, what was the color palette? What was the ride to the grocery store in terms of like length and all that? Like how was that? Would you say, a very specific experience? And curious if, sometimes I psychoanalyze myself too, but I feel like it's interesting to think about the place that you're from and kind of how it's affected your artistry or kind of put you on a certain path of whether it was boredom but I would love to hear about if you guys have thought about that at all in terms of how it's affected your music.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as we, see more places in the world, like traveling through touring and stuff, definitely it makes me reflect on, you know, what on earth made me decide, like, oh, I have to write some songs, like I have to write music. But yeah, I grew up in Sandown on the Isle of Wight, which is like this little seaside town. It's like pretty run down. There used to be kind of a high street, and now it's all just like shop fronts, like boarded up. And there's this big pier that goes out into the sea, and there's like an arcade, and then at the end of the pier there's a Helter Skelter and some dodgems. There's lots of like 2p machines, so you can like gamble like as early as the age of 10.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool.
That's, I mean, it sounds like such an interesting place with a very specific flavor. How was the music community I know you mentioned at the vegan cafe, there was a lot of musicians, but in terms of like, you know, music education and all that, was there like a core memory that kind of put either of you guys on the path of like, because I know you also went to music school and I believe met, like you and Hester had met there, I believe.
And Joshua as well, we met at college, like college in the like English sense, not like the university type college, because when you say college, it's like university, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
College is different.
Yeah, so we met when we were like, I met Hester when I was like 17, she was 16, and you joined a few years later when you were like 18?
Yeah, 18.
Yeah.
So was there like a very active music community that kind of pushed you onto this path, would you say?
I think that I moved to the Isle of Wight when I was like 18, and everyone was like complaining about it. But I was like, this is cool, like you guys don't get it. They're like, there are musicians. There are like enough musicians for it not to be just like 10 people sort of like quitting the same band over and over again, do you know what I mean? And there's like, you know, it's not amazing. It's just like a small place in England. It's kind of rural. There's not much going on. But if you've come from even less, then it seems like something fun, I guess. And I guess I could see that. And I find that exciting enough to stay for a bit longer, yeah.
No, absolutely. I feel like I'm also from New Jersey, which is also obviously very different from Isle of Wight. But I do think that there is this really beautiful thing about being from a place that is far from the action in a sense. Like there's so much, I feel like, fertile ground to be bored. And I feel like there's not that many opportunities anymore, like especially now with just the age of the way the internet works and the way phones are so integrated into our lives, like that era of like boredom and I don't know, I feel like it's so important, and it's so important in fostering creativity. And on that topic, I had also read somewhere that you guys had made this last album, Moisturizer, in a house in the countryside, and I think you had spent, I think it said it was 4 weeks, I believe, in this house, kind of isolated from the world. And I love this term that I saw a lot that you would use of being very self-indulgent, which I thought was a really cool term. But I'm curious, was that decision to approach this, you know, this is your sophomore album, so like approaching your sophomore album this way, was this like a discussion that you guys had as a band? Was it something that you kind of stumbled into? Was it a reaction to some sort of, you know, to anything in particular? I'm curious kind of how that idea came into fruition.
I think I definitely didn't want to go to somewhere that was just like really expensive just because of it, you know, like the first album went well, all of a sudden someone's got an idea to like have an orchestra or something like that and just like chill out, just like do the opposite of that. And like and also just like not to try and like recreate, like 6 weeks of making cookies and dancing and like making silly songs, to try that, which then like became Wet Leg songs or whatever. Wasn't to like recreate that, but to do something like kind of similar in the sense that you can be creative at any time and you can put it down at any time, and it's just like the most important thing was for us like writing the music to be as accessible as possible and as quick as possible. Yeah, I definitely didn't want it to be like at any point it's like, okay, we get to the studio at 10 and we start writing and we finish at 6 and then go make dinner. Do you know what I mean? It should just be like all the time. Whenever it's like about to happen, you're ready to do it.
Right. Like integrated into just life, which I'm sure, you know, because it's been such a crazy few years for you guys reading about your story and just kind of how everything has, you know, led to multiple Grammy nominations, and obviously just hell yeah. And, you know, just the cultural impact and just the amazing art that you guys have created over the last few years. But then on top of that, you know, like I'm sure the structure of your lives have changed so much, and trying to figure out like that space to be creative, you know. And I was watching this Apple Music interview, and Josh, you talked about something that really resonated with me as well, is like the importance on this topic of being able to throw things away, because I didn't realize that you guys also self-direct your music videos, which is so sick, honestly, because I feel like that's just the level of I just really feel like the level of heart that you guys put into every detail of like the visuals that I've seen, which is really cool. And I'm curious, like when it comes to visuals, like for the video for Catch These Fists, Josh, you had mentioned that you didn't even know that Rian was making the video at the time that it was made, which is so epic. So I'm curious, like, how has that journey of kind of protecting that been for you guys, and the evolution of like, because I know that as things get crazier, you know, schedules get crazier, and like you really sometimes feel like you're in the thick of the matrix that is like keeping up a career in this industry. And I think that it's interesting to hear other artists' take on like on how do you protect that? Are there, you know, strategies that you guys have or could offer advice to, you know, younger artists too, in terms of finding that balance? 'Cause I think that's something that's not talked about that much, and it is pretty difficult.
Yeah, I think personally something that helps us kind of like keep it, you know, how we want it, is to, yeah, like Joshy said, like to try and spend as minimal money on stuff as possible, so that if you do want to chuck it away, it's not, you know, like like loads of people, like when you're, what am I trying to say, like it's really, really great being signed to a label and like having the resources available to you, but when you're like spending someone else's money that is kind of your money but also not really,
Right.
like people are like, well, you've spent like X amount on this video, like you have to drop it, but we don't care if you don't like it. Like, you know, it just, if you make it yourself and it's not good, no one has to know about it. It's like with demos, like when you like demo a song, like no one, like you don't have to release every demo that you make,
Right.
like song-wise, so why should you have to release every visual that you make? And I think keeping it like self-sufficient and, you know, as DIY as possible can really help with that.
Absolutely. I'm definitely gonna steal that, because it's really smart. I've definitely wasted a lot of my label's money in the past, and it was not fun, my prior label, so shout out to them. But yeah, I know how difficult that can be. I think that pressure, like the idea of like pressure and all that when it comes to like continue your career, is like just really fascinating topic to me. And congrats on this album. Truly, I've been listening to it, and I really love how the vocals are so intimate, and raw. I loved seeing this idea of, it was cool to see you also see you guys make a love album, and or what feels like kind of a love album, and seeing this idea of love, which is such a timeless and, you know, ages old concept, seeing that kind of illustrated in such a different way, like a different color spectrum, and seeing this very fresh take on like the resistance that sometimes you feel when you fall in love, and the vulnerability, the tenderness, but also the rage I feel like I felt, and the effortlessness, as well as like the what the fuck is happening right now. I just loved feeling that like cacophony of so many different textures and emotions. So truly congratulations. And I'm curious, in terms of making a love album, you also talk about this idea of decentering men when it came to this project, and I thought that was really interesting. With that concept, do you feel like this whole concept kind of snuck up on you? Was it something that you were like, oh, I want to make an album about falling in love? Or was it kind of like, oh shit, like all these songs are about falling in love? Or I'm curious about like, as a band, especially because I know that, you know, you guys all have writing credits on all these songs, and yeah, what was that process like? And maybe if you have any specific memories of any specific song or your favorite song off the project, and how those songs came into fruition, if there's anything you would feel like blessing us with.
Thank you so much as well. That was really,
Oh yeah,
like, you've
Thank
really
you
done your
guys.
homework. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think when we were writing the album, I think, yeah, we never really have like an objective of what it's gonna be about, even like song per song. Like, you never really know what it's gonna be about. Like, I know not everyone writes like that, but certainly we're very just like no objective. And yeah, it's only kind of like when doing promo and stuff after making the album that, yeah, I realized, oh, like, shit, what's this album all about? And I'm like, oh, I've written all of these songs about, you know, falling in love. And it's definitely something that I never, like, I was so adamant before, up until this point, that I never wanted to write a love song. I think, you know, the world already has so many love songs. It's so saturated. And I think, you know, but then I think discovering my queerness, like, very recently, like, quite later in life, like, not as late as it could have been, thank goodness, but, you know, like 28, I feel is like fairly, wait, was I 28? No, I was probably like 29. Yeah, I was 29 when I met my partner, and I think that just like opened up like a whole new door. And, like, you know, it's such a cliche to say that like writing is cathartic, but there was like a catharsis in writing about this new way to love that I had found. And I think, you know, I think lyrically we don't really collaborate so much like within the band, but I think definitely like there are two kind of like, I like to call them like sister songs on the album, and that is Davina and Don't Speak. And I remember when I was writing certain lyrics in Davina that were just so gooey, icky, like just like irritatingly like in love. Hester at the same time was writing Don't Speak, and I would kind of go to Hester and I'd be like, is this too much? She'd be like, no, I love that. And then Hester would come to me like, is this too much? And I'd be like, no, I love that. And so it's like, it's really nice to like, yeah.
I love that too, guys.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. That truly is so awesome. Like when it comes to the, you know, you're in a house, what, I don't know why I keep wanting to ask about the smells and like but I mean, do you guys have any, is there anything specific that you guys love when it comes to creating a space that's very conducive to just making an album? You know, is there any like rules? I know we don't, as artists, don't really love rules, but I've found honestly, this year I've kind of realized like sometimes bounds and like guidelines are kind of nice in this very like so much excess in the world right now. There's so much noise, and I think the idea of kind of creating guidelines is really interesting. Was there anything like that for you guys with this album in terms of like no blank or yes blank or we want this?
I would say it was we left it kind of pretty open. I feel like the only confines were, okay, we've got the house where we were staying booked from this day to this day. And that was kind of it. And I think also we weren't really we weren't expected to write the album within that time, and we weren't, it was very,
Oh, you were not. We're not expected.
like, we were hoping to,
Uh-huh.
but it would have been okay
Got you.
if we didn't.
If we wanted to throw it all away,
Yeah.
we don't
Yes,
like to commit. I
this
don't
idea
think.
of throwing
I think
shit
that's fine.
away.
Yeah.
We've got commitment issues.
I mean, that's great. I love that for you guys. Honestly, I think that the ability to not be rigid is like one of the most important things, I think, when it comes to creating anything. And speaking of the project, Dan Carey, how was working with him, and what was a lesson, if anything, that kind of came about from working with him?
Dan is like a really knowledgeable, like very experienced guy, but he's also just like it's like when you work with him, it's like the first song he's ever recorded. Like that's how excited he is. Not like he's not very good, so it's the first song he's ever done. But like, he's just so stoked like most of the time. And that doesn't work against him. I think as an artist, if you're stoked about everything, then probably something's going wrong. But with him, it just seems to be good. That wasn't a joke. I don't know why you're laughing.
We're
but
both
it's
just
funny
like
'cause it's true.
maniacally laughing. Like, so that you found that to be like that childlike kind of, this is my first time doing this, to be contagious in a sense.
Yeah, because it's like, it's fun, isn't it? And if you're not having fun, then like, why are you still doing it? It's not exactly.
It's not brain surgery.
Yeah, it's not. And you come up, like, if you spend years and years and years doing this thing, like trying to make something good, but it's like, it's a subjective thing that you're trying to make. You can come up with all these like weird rules for yourself, and like a lot of those rules are quite helpful. But maybe I think I probably found myself at a point where I was like, had made so many rules for myself that I probably wasn't enjoying it as much as I should do. And seeing Dan get so stoked about all this stuff, I was like, oh yeah, duh. We're supposed to be enjoying it, and we are enjoying it.
Dang.
Yeah.
I felt that. Yeah, I feel like that happens to so many artists, It's like the nature of the industry. I feel that's so interesting. You see so many artists go through this like just really mental maze of navigating. I think that's one of the hardest parts of being an artist. And, obviously it's such a blessing, but I think that is one of the most big challenges, I would say. I was going to ask on that tip, have you guys ever kind of been through the rounds of, between projects, maybe being pitched a lot of like producers and writers and collaborators, and this is how you should do it, and kind of speed dating, maybe, whether it's in London or in LA or wherever. Have you guys experienced that at all? And if so, like, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, we did. We did do the whole speed dating thing, didn't we? Different producers and stuff for this album, and like quite unsuccessfully, to be honest. Like, yeah, which is, I think when, obviously the first album did so well, and it's like, oh, you could work with this person, you could work with this person, but I think, yeah, I'm really glad that we just decided to go back with Dan because it just felt like the right thing to do. But it is quite just a waste of energy, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so torturous sometimes.
yeah, sometimes really torturous. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, just the process of, for those of you who don't know, like speed dating is just kind of trying a bunch of different producers, trying a bunch of different sessions and like kind of shooting in the dark and hoping that it lands somewhere. And yeah, there's nothing like the round of LA speed sessions and kind of what that when you talked about like, oh yeah, duh, it's supposed to be fun, I feel like that is really something that so many artists who move to LA kind of fall into the trap. I mean, I've even fallen into that trap of like, it needs to be this way or it needs to be that way. And I feel like with the album that you guys made, I really feel like it captured such a like a free flow and an essence of like, no, we just kind of do things the way we want to do them, and that's so refreshing to see. Um, and speaking of, with same thing kind of translates with you guys are nominated for Best Album Cover for the Grammys, which I think this is the first year, right?
Yeah, it's a new thing.
Yeah, I think that's the first year this category is even a thing. So congrats on that. And curious, like, how did that come together? Because that album cover just looks like a day in the life, honestly. Like there's something so raw about that image that that I feel like had to have been serendipitous, but I'm curious, like, who did you collaborate with on that and how did that come together?
Yeah. So yeah, I think the really cool thing about, the first album going well and getting to do a second album is, you can also like reach out to collaborators like in the visual sense. And so the album cover was shot by Iris Loss, a photographer in London whose work I really, really love. And yeah, I just like been following her for a while, and I knew that I wanted to do something with her, but we'd never met. And yeah, you're right in saying that like the album cover kind of like came out of, like a moment of like spontaneity. And going back to what like we were saying about spending minimal money and like making demo ideas for like visuals as well as audio, like then like and then like being able to throw it away. That's something that we did with Iris. We made a demo version of the album cover that kind of just came out of, again, we went away, we spent the label's money on hiring a house, but this time not to make music, to just like take some photos. Because like being an artist, part of it is having your photo taken and being perceived, and we'd been away from that. And so our friend Joanna, she commissioned the album cover, and she suggested like, well, why don't you guys all go away together and get to know each other? And so I don't know why. I don't think it's really a done thing to have these little like retreats where you go and like explore what visual language you want to put with the songs that you've just spent so long making in the studio. But yeah, we were afforded this time to like go away together, like the band and Iris, and we just played around.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's so sick. So was that part of kind of a series of, a lot of exploration and just picked one like seed of that kind of collection?
Yeah, it was honestly, we were just running around this house like mad people, just like playing ping pong and having like fake dinner parties like you do when you're like literally like 8 years old. But then there was one image that we got back after the weekend away, and it was just one that Iris took of me in this like, like the demon kind of like creature position, and there was something so like hideous and like innocent and pretty about it. And I think like juxtaposition is something that like we've always enjoyed playing with in Wet Leg, like our very first video, like Chaise Longue, like the juxtaposition of kind of like the prairie dresses and like, you know, like the punky track or whatever. Like I think it's so fun to play with that. And so yeah, we kind of like made this demo image out of one of the photos that we'd taken on this weekend away, and then recreated that in a more, you know, in a studio with everything like just so.
Oh, okay, so that was a recreation of kind of the demo that you had created.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I feel like people are so daunted by the cost, like you said, of making visuals sometimes, and to hear like this process is really fascinating to me because I also love visuals so much. I wanted to say,
great.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you. That really means a lot, honestly, because I love your visuals as well. There was one that I watched this week of the lobster hands, and I also read that that your fans show up now to your shows with lobster hands, which is crazy because as I was reading that, I wanted to be a lobster for Halloween this year, so I ordered lobster claws, and because I always order things and then forget about them. So I literally had these lobster claws that I didn't use for Halloween that were just sitting on my counter. I was like, oh my God, I need to show this to them. And I was going to wear them for the interview, but I also forgot to do that. So let me just, but I will say they smell like ass. They smell like, I don't know what happened. I guess latex just smells really bad. But I just thought it was so cool that lobsters, of all things. So shout out to the lobsters in the world, the cockroaches of the sea. And I guess just like on that tip with lobsters, curious, I remember reading something about you guys watched a lot of horror films in kind of the time that you conceived the band. What are your guys' favorite horror films, if you have any?
I like Pearl. I really like that film. Thank you.
Where's that from? Which country? Is it
I don't
American?
know, American, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually don't watch horror films, but
Too scary.
yes, but I feel this urge within me lately. I want to explore horror films because I think I made this conception in my brain that I hate scary things. But I think sometimes you make a conception in your brain when you're younger and you attach yourself to it. But I really feel like now I would enjoy horror. So I gotta get on that.
I think there's some really good horror films coming out at the minute as well. Like Weapons is one that's come out recently that is, I think they're quite substantial horror films.
This group clearly loved Weapons. That was like a very emotive response. Maybe I'll check that one out. Is that the one where someone was like stabbing themselves with a fork, I think, in the the trailer? Okay, I'll check that out.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. I think we're good up with time right now, right? I guess on that tip, like, what is it about horror as a band that kind of draws you guys in?
I think on a very practical level, when you're watching a film with at least 5 people in the room and people are kind of wandering in and out, quite often with horror, the storylines are quite simple and they're like tropes that are repeated again and again. So you can they're quite non-committal, which we love.
Yeah, we love it.
I'm sensing a
God.
trend here, guys.
We've reached the therapy part of the interview.
We've broken through. Once the lobster hands came out, it's time to talk about our childhood traumas.
She's one of us. We can tell you our secrets.
So it's kind of like that. There's a classicness to it for you, horror.
Yeah. Why do you think we like horror so much?
I think that was a really good answer. I think you're probably right. Like, there's a lot of like walking in and out of the room and stuff. Is sort of like
so functional.
And you can just like watch someone like scream for like 5 minutes and like run away for a bit. Like, yeah, like you say, you don't have to. You're not like, oh, what's that person's name? You're like, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like getting on a roller coaster as well, because it's like, but like you know you're safe, so it's like quite a like fun team building activity.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you guys feel like that the fascination with horror has made its way into the film or the visuals? I personally kind of, when I read that and I saw the videos, I was like, oh, I feel like I could see a link there, you know, of like this very, this unpredictability of it, this feeling of danger that's enticing for some reason. But I'm not sure if that's like me just psychoanalyzing you guys on some level.
Yeah, I think when we made like our first video back with this campaign for Catch These Fists, there was definitely something like a bit like off and like culty about it, which we quite liked. Kind of like reimagining the Isle of Wight. Like this, I mean, it's not really reimagining, it kind of is a bit like that. It's just
So there is something kind of reminiscent of home in that.
Yeah, well, and we shot it at home on
Nice.
the Isle of Wight, in my dad's back garden for quite a lot of it.
Shout out to your dad.
Shout out my dad. Shout out Andrew.
That's so awesome. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys wanted to discuss. I mean, those are pretty much all my questions. I guess like 2026, is there anything you guys are excited about? Obviously, you will be at the Grammys. Is that something that you guys take time to celebrate, or where were you guys when you found out, I guess?
We were in Germany.
Oh,
We're doing
nice.
a Europe tour. We didn't all happen to be in the same place this time. I think Rianne, you and Ellis. You were separate, right? Where were you?
Me and Ellis were on the tour bus.
Yeah.
Just getting a bit of space from you guys.
Yeah.
I'm joking. we were on the tour bus. Just kind of, me and Ellis was like, it was like the time when all the nominations were coming out. Like, you know, 1 hour went by, no nomination. Another hour went by. Oh, I guess it's just like, it's not our year. Because obviously everything that happened with the first album was just so crazy. And like, it really felt like that was our time. And so we were just kind of saying, well, it's just not our time this year, and that's absolutely fine.
And false.
And then we got the call, and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like, oh my God.
That's so dope.
How about you? Where were you when you found out about your Grammy nomination?
Thank you. I was actually in Brazil. I was in Minas Gerais, like working on music, and yeah, honestly, I also kind of had no idea what to expect because I've never really been in that conversation to that degree, and you know, it was really cool. You know, I think it's like very it's such a classic thing, you know, like watching the Grammys as you grow up. And yeah, it was really such an emotional experience because I feel like you know, doing music's not easy, you know, and I think there's so many obstacles and things that I was thinking about. It wasn't just about this project or anything like that. It was like everything before that point, you know, like all the times I've eaten shit as a musician, all the times that I've gone down like the dark alleyway with the sus man in the trench coat and just like, and fallen for his tricks, you know, like it's all those times kind of grieving those times and also celebrating just like the journey that it has been. So I'm sure you guys can relate to that, you know, even before you guys became a band. I'm sure each of you have your individual journeys, and it's just been such a I'm sure rewarding, hopefully a rewarding journey.
Yeah, rewarding. Yeah.
I think something that is really nice about it is, you know, you're just always like on the treadmill of like trying to like keep this thing going, and you don't really get time to reflect together. And so, you know, like stuff like this, it is like a good reminder to like take stock and just like, yeah, it does like feel like a win, doesn't it? It's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty
Absolutely. I mean, congratulations on everything. Thank you for your art, and thank you for everything that you guys have created and put out into the world. I am personally so excited for tonight's performance. So everyone, we're going to start a mosh pit in this auditorium. So do not leave. And yeah, give it up for Rianne and Josh from Wet Leg.
Thank you.
Give it up for Audrey Nuna.
Thank you.